We are back.
Hey, everyone. Happy Monday. We are in the home stretch. And if you can't tell, Rich is fired up. He's got his haircut. He's all with the seasons of greetings, but I am feeling gray. I am still trying to get my powers for the day. So we're going to do our best because we do have a very high energy guest with us today. We are very excited. Welcome to 12 Days of Recruiting, episode 9 with Adam Rosenfield, known to some as Adam J. Rosenfield, all the way from Texas.
Adam.
Already a bone of contention for my Pittsburgh buddy in the left corner. But Adam, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm that high energy on a Monday, but it's nice we are in the home stretch. It's kind of like, I guess it's probably like, if we're talking 12 days of Christmas, I'd say like this day is definitely number 12 on the rankings because, it's Monday and we got a long slog ahead of us. But so I'm a recruiter. I do HR, I do people ops, some DEI work. I'm down in Austin, Texas, and on every single one of my social pages, obviously you'll find that I'm a generally diehard Dallas and University of North Texas sports fan. So, we actually, speaking of random sports games, one of my teams happens to play in about 3 hours in South Carolina, oddly. So, excited to be here, excited to connect with folks and talk anything and everything recruiting.
Yes, thank you. So if we were going by the song that we borrowed the title from, with 9, say I'm not good with the song. So is it 9 Lords of Leaping?
I'm probably not the person that you ask. I grew up with the Hanukkah song, not 12 Days of Christmas. So I think I don't even know the song.
After 5 golden rings, we forget, right? That's all we know.
You leave me at Jingle Bells. So
So true story. Rich and I were dead set on being an inclusive show. That's why we're 12 Days of Recruiting, and we knew that you celebrate. Well, we didn't know if you celebrate Hanukkah or celebrated Christmas, but one of the pet peeves I have with Christmas, and I'm going to tell you this, is the over commercialization. So I actually have Jewish friends. I actually have friends whose religion is Islam who actually do celebrate commercial Christmas. They do the tree, they do the gifts and all of that. They enjoy the fanfare and the fun. Have you ever has that been a part of your family tradition where you've done both, or you strictly Hanukkah?
So we celebrate Christmas in that, like, we take off of school and work, and so
right.
I think the one advantage, because I think there's a lot of families who are like, well, do I go home for Thanksgiving? Do I go home for Christmas? And we've always been a very Thanksgiving focused family. And sometimes Hanukkah is early December, sometimes it's mid-December, sometimes it's late. And, to be honest with you, the only thing I celebrate on December 25th is it used to be, I'm going to go back to my sports, but December 25th used to be the first day that, NBA games were broadcast on over-the-air TV, and so that was the big thing. And so it used to be a triple header. Now it's 5 games starting at noon. We were always eternally grateful for the break and the fact that we didn't have to celebrate. We always had the Chinese food and and movies before they got too expensive.
I got that. So I do hear that. The ones that don't, they like we have Chinese, what their meal is, they have Chinese food on the 25th. So that's awesome. Hopefully we won't, like I said, we're trying to be inclusive, so we definitely don't want to offend. We did shout out the first day of Hanukkah on December 10th. And I know that it's over now, but I hope that the love and the light was shine on your family. And we're going to give you the season's greetings as well.
Exactly. And real quick, Adam, yeah, I grew up in Fox Chapel outside Pittsburgh, and it's 90% Jewish. So they had the big celebration outside. So I know a little bit about it, and it's good times.
And not only that, I mean, you got Kwanzaa starting the day after Christmas. So
yes. So let's talk about that. Not Kwanzaa specifically, but having different traditions than the mainstream. So I worked at a staffing company at one point, and they were good people, like no doubt about it. But there was some excitement for one of the owners because his children, who went to an exclusive private school, were just learning about Kwanzaa. And I was the only Black person in the company at the time. So as a way to try and connect with me, he's like, Kirsten, I'm so excited. Like, he's so fired up. He came with like all of his notes, like wanting to say the right thing and do the right thing. And I'm like, okay. And I said, well, my family celebrates Christmas. We don't have a Kwanzaa tradition. Yes, we know what it is. Yes, if you follow me on social media, I post every day what the principle is for the day. I do all of that. I've even been to some Kwanzaa celebrations, but it's not a part of my family's tradition. So it kind of hurt his feelings, but it was like, to me, it was like a reach. So, have you had that experience where either people have ignored the fact that you don't, celebrate Christmas, or they've maybe gone overboard with, throwing like Hanukkah, just everything on you?
No, I get it. I mean, I think that I definitely have. I mean, and a lot of times it's miseducation, and some it's obviously it's compensating for something. I mean, I feel like that's something that we saw this summer too. And I'm sure we can get into that. But I think sometimes it's I mean, a lot of times, when I was younger, it was like up to, my family or even like another family in my class to like help educate those on, oh, hey, this is Hanukkah. And like, I went to a predominantly like white elementary school, and luckily I had a lot of friends with different backgrounds. So like I grew up celebrating like Ramadan and Eid and a variety of others, but never. And I understood Kwanzaa, but never really understood until I like went to college. And yeah.
I'm sorry.
We see somebody behind you. We see somebody.
Like,
oh yeah. My fiance is on winter break, and she's very wary about getting in any podcast or anything like that.
Listen, we have a more the merrier policy.
We just want to make sure it wasn't an intruder.
No, that shit. No, this is her first day of break after being a teacher, and she is looking to lock herself in the room for as long as she possibly can. So
thank you to your fiance for all of the work that she did. Was she distanced? Yeah. She was distanced teaching?
No, she was distanced, and then she was in person, and she was teaching distance and in person. So yeah.
How did that work with you? Are you 100% remote?
I'm 100% remote. So
yes. So how did that work with you guys both being home at some point?
Well, I mean,
both trying to work.
So we were home, in the like first part of the pandemic. And like I was more, because I was laid off in like April. Okay. And so I was more job searching, but like we have two different we have two rooms, and so I was out in the kitchen, and then she was out. She was in one of the bedrooms, and we got her a desk and a chair, and so she has her own little room. But I love it. But yeah, obviously, then she moved to in person, and made it a lot easier. So
nice. Hey, Adam, I got to ask you a question while we're on this with the holiday tradition, and you can tell me yay or nay. That Adam Sandler song, is that good or bad?
Yay. So there's five.
Okay.
There's 5 different variations.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's very interesting because if you listen to all 5, as I have, I mean, you will see sort of the change in celebrities. I mean, the first one talked about old school ones like Pauly Shore,
Rod Crew.
yeah. I mean, Rod Carew and and then as you got to 3 and 4, it was like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and so more. I mean, I honestly think he's due for a new one.
Okay.
But he released his first one in like 91 or something like that, and then it was like, and then he released the 5th one a couple of years ago, and it follows the same thing. They're all just as. I mean, the first one is the first one though. So
gotcha.
I mean, I just want to make sure because I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love playing it. It's awesome.
Honestly, the amount of Hanukkah oriented songs has actually gotten a lot better recently. As a lot of other mainstream artists have talking about random songs and that sort of thing. But I mean that's kind of like the gold standard for songs.
Well, now we know it coming straight from another Adam. Coming from an Adam about Adam Sandler. I mean, it's got to be the truth.
That he also, a lot of times people say he's my doppelganger. So,
wait, hold on. Not so much today. You have more of a reddish brown hair. His hair is darker.
Yeah, not so much today. But like there are like past photos of me when like my hair's all grown out, and my hair's all grown out, and I look like the Zohan. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. You don't mess.
A night that Zohan, yeah.
So did you ever go and when people say that, do you say, "Yeah, I am really Adam"?
Yeah. Well,
play it off. Good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that every so often.
Do you ever take any pictures with anybody?
No, but like I have had people say like, "Hey, you look like Adam Sandler," and I'm like,
"Good deal."
A lot of times it's like mannerisms too, because Adam Sandler is a little zany, and so.
So true story. I'm gonna shift back to recruiting for just a second. True story. Like I know you from Twitter. Okay, so there's a different vibe on Twitter, and we can talk about that as far as recruiting and what you think is going to happen with recruiting platforms and how we're doing social media, in the next year or 2 years. But when I saw your LinkedIn profile, like you were like there's a meme that goes around. It's like, your Facebook picture, your Instagram picture, your LinkedIn and your Twitter. And I was like, yeah, this is right. Like you were like, you had no beard in the picture, you got your suit and your tie, and I was just like, yeah, this is like the best like business mullet I've ever seen, like ever. And that's a term that I started using because
the business mullet.
I call it a business mullet because I used to be like what you are in that LinkedIn picture, the one that's on the promo that we did with you.
I hate it, anyway.
Like that. Sorry.
The only reason I still use that is I just haven't found like any good photo to use in the last
it's all good.
It's a beautiful photo. So but that was me when I had to work in an office, or that was me when I'm in front of people. And I've gotten to the point now, as you can see, we're on camera right now, and I'm like, you're getting what you get. Like I would never have a ponytail. I would never have on, a shirt with no collar, or I would have a cardigan or a blazer over it. But I just love that. Like, was that, which one is more consistent with the regular you, or
you talking about my LinkedIn versus my Twitter photo?
Yes.
Because I was going to say, I have LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and all like, so I just took a new headshot, and I'm going to replace that because I am not a suit and tie guy.
Okay.
Probably in my Twitter one, I finally changed it over the past, in the last month. that photo originally was me in 2016. And I changed it to, I was like out in the middle of Sedona, like in the middle of a hike in Sedona. And I was like, that's a lot more me than because I genuinely hate headshots.
Okay.
You know, I prefer the candids or sort of out in the wild. Because like I know people who they get a new headshot, I swear, like every 2 months, and I'm like, why? You know, like why? Like you have a
glamour pick.
Yeah, you have a phone with portrait mode, like use that or something like that, or you know, I don't know. I'm not a headshot guy.
I got it.
This is me. So
I love it. So that's my follow-on question. Do you think that more people, especially recruiters, who are, you know, having to manage and be the arbiters of what is professional dress, do you think that we're changing that? Because again, a lot of us are either working differently or working 100% remotely. Like there's just not a lot of emphasis put on like what clothes you're wearing. Do you think we're going to continue to just let that go?
I think professionalism is like was made up by, in terms of dress, was made up by those who were, you know, 30, 40 years older than us. And, you know, it was like, you had to adhere to a certain way. And like, you know, your hair had to be a certain way. Let's talk about the fact that, you know, natural hair, you know, specifically Black women were like discriminated against natural hair, and I think it was in California until 2019. And it's like you have this aura of professionalism, and like everybody had their headshot, but you could still be a scum and like. But like that's the thing. It was like, you know, hey, you have to wear suits around the office, but like you're actually not a great person. And so like sure, you could wear look, let's look at our U.S. Congress, for instance. What is the dress code there? I mean, it's everybody wears suits and ties, but you know, are those people like the moral embodiments of like what we want in society? Like, no.
You leaned into it too.
Yeah.
Come on now.
No, so I mean, the whole professional dress, it's like, you know, it sort of hides everything. Like I'd rather what's in here, and what's in here is like more important than, you know,
agree. I mean, I agree on that, Adam. You hit it right on the nail. At my office, sometimes I bring people in. I have a white V-neck T-shirt on with sunglasses and flip-flops with jeans, but they get to know me, right? It's not like I'm a suitcase kind of guy trying to sell you something.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. Like suits and ties are expensive, man. Or like suits are. Yeah. So like, why not? You know, you can buy 4 pairs of jeans for, I don't know. I mean, I probably shop cheaper than most, but
I haven't had on jeans in months. Like, no, thank you.
Well, like sometimes I have to have on. So like, for me, I can't walk into an office with like a T-shirt and shorts just because I know I generally won't be productive. And so like, I have a dress where like I know I'm going to be productive, and it's like, you know, jeans like this style. Like, I don't know if I'll be as productive in a suit, but I also don't know if I'm dressed too far down that'll be. So like, I think sometimes like for me, there's a certain mindset, and like if I wear pajamas all day, like I don't know if I'm gonna get stuff done.
Netflix all day, right?
Yeah, you know, I actually not as much Netflix anymore. I tend to, I mean, I'm watching like one show on Netflix, and that's about it. So
what show?
I'm watching Gossip Girl. So
I've never seen that. I know what happens though, because it's off the air, right?
Yeah, you know, it's so I never realized like how popular it was from like 2007 to like 2012, and my fiance told me it was like must-see viewing, and I was like, I don't really watch like network TV shows. So I never really watch like a lot of those TV shows. But yeah, that's really the only show. And then I'm watching this thing on like the Russian Revolution. That's about it.
Nice. I like historical documentaries and things. All right, let's get into like one more recruiting question. Then we're going to do we're going to do more fun stuff because we're having a fun conversation. I'm really enjoying the flow of it.
Flow.
All right, so before we went live, we were talking about ways that we use social media for recruiting, and both you and I mentioned how we have joined Clubhouse, and that's becoming a good source of folks. Mm-hmm. Can you share with the folks who may be interested in Clubhouse or strictly on there for social, like how if they are recruiters, how they can use it, or if they're job seekers, like what tips do you have for them as to reaching a recruiter?
So I think like any social media site, you have to be careful. Clubhouse especially, because I think it is a little less moderated than most.
Oh, absolutely.
I've definitely sort of heard my fair share of misogyny, of racism, of anti-Semitism. And yeah, I mean, there are some room, but that's the thing is as a recruiter and as a job seeker, you have to be wary of what you do on that site, but that site is also very, very productive. I've actually sourced a couple of candidates off of there.
Yeah.
And the way, I think the way you do that is by connecting with like the right people. The thing about Clubhouse is if you follow a wide variety of people, you're going to get in a wide variety of rooms. And so I think that's number one, because I think the problem is sometimes people follow the same type of people on Clubhouse and they get the same type of rooms. Mm-hmm. And, I follow a wide variety of people. So I get, cultural rooms, I get VC rooms, I get recruiting rooms, I get all kinds of different rooms. And so I think that's number one. Number two is to be active as much as possible. Get into rooms, ask to speak. There are rooms that are hosted, like Julius Stokes, I believe he hosts a room like once a week, and it's like, hey, like who's got jobs? And there are like 400 people in this room all the time.
That's beautiful.
I went on and I spoke and I got about 15 resumes off of there. So, I actually interviewed a couple from there. And so, there's that, but like make sure go into the more well-moderated rooms, and make sure you're connecting with, because I think the thing on Clubhouse, because I think there's a difference between resume collection and like actual sort of headhunting. And I think the interesting thing about Clubhouse is I think you can do more effective headhunting than you can on LinkedIn and somewhat Twitter, because Clubhouse, you're actually talking to them like you're actually talking to them in real time. So if I'm working for like a fintech company and I'm in a fintech room and I'm hearing this person talk about their views and ways, like I can go in there and sort of say my P's and Q's and follow them and be like, hey, nice conversation. And like, we have that sort of one-on-one interaction and I see their general knowledge. I think the one thing that I wish Clubhouse had was like a DM button.
Yes, I agree. I do think there needs to be some, like everyone is not going to raise their hand and get called up to the stage. And then you have folks who stay on the stage a bit too long.
Yeah.
That. No, I know I haven't been in a room with you yet, but I'm just saying like there are some that's like, okay. And I think that when there is never going to be a time when they're like 100% of job seekers feel what I'm saying is equal to a recruiter, because they're looking at us, even if they know more about job searching than we do, they're looking at us as the subject matter expert. So a lot of times they're a little bit reluctant to speak up or to send. So I think if you have the opportunity to send a message to say, hi, when this is over, or tomorrow, some other time, can we talk about this? I think that would be a great use of the tool. I too have had success like finding software engineers and, a lot of other tech folks and very diverse job seekers who weren't necessarily like actively looking for a job, but they were in a room that was talking about job searching or using their skills and, pivoting and, what's next for me, that type of stuff. And they have in their profile what they are. So I'm like going through the list, like, oh, okay. Go. And then they come in, they follow me on our favorite place, LinkedIn, our very favorite place.
Oh.
And I know, it's a necessary evil. And I'm making connections that way that are much more authentic. And last thing I'm going to ask is you to talk about the difference between headhunting and resume collection.
Yeah, because I think that's really something that people should differentiate between, because there are a lot of recruiters who know how to resume collect, and I mean for some roles like customer service roles and high volume roles, I mean there's definitely a resume collection component,
right?
But headhunting is truly like. I think a lot of recruiters and hiring managers don't headhunt very well because headhunting requires A, for you to sell, and B, to have like intellectual conversations. And it's like, it's not just, hey, I have a job, like, hey, this is why your profile meets this. I'm actually having to headhunt like a bunch of React mobile native developers right now. And it's something where A, I have to educate myself, and B, it's definitely like much more targeted, and it requires just a higher level of thinking and more of like, this is why I am reaching out versus, hey, here's my job, everybody come apply. Which I think there's a lot of recruiters that do that, and
90%.
We call it posting. We used to call it post and pray. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm always fascinated with like I started as a headhunter, and my original dream, actually, I wanted to be, when I first got in, I wanted to be a sports headhunter. I learned about this. There's been articles written on this business, but like college football, and like college basketball and other sports, they have these headhunters, but then what you find out is the headhunters are actually like commissioners or something like that. And the schools pay them like 40 to like 100 grand. And basically they facilitate interviews for head football positions or basketball positions or athletic director. And like, I was like, yeah, like that's actually kind of cool, but it requires obviously a higher level of thinking, because you have to A, understand the candidate, and B, match them to a particular school or company or organization or that sort of thing. And so I think that is really, really the difference. And I think in the past, headhunting has probably had a really bad name, because I mean they're like trailblazers that kind of walk in and kind of like blow up people's personal phone or blow up their, and like that's where places like Clubhouse or Twitter offer the chance to do more like intellectual headhunting, because you can actually get into sort of conversations with them and establish like a one-on-one communication, and really sort of understand like their subject matter expertise.
Good stuff. I want to throw one out there that you guys probably don't know, meetup.com. Did you ever get on meetup.com? Best for recruiting for IT. They have groups.
Is it?
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
they have engineer groups.
All sort of like different IT meetups.
Yep. Meetup.com. You can pull anybody out of there, the picture, direct message, and everything, and it's free. I mean, it's almost like a Clubhouse, but seems like it's more intense, and you can speak, and the groups have like 4,000 people in it, and you go through each one. Tells you everything about their resume and everything, if they're looking, if they're not looking. Great resource, meetup.com.
I mean, there's Meetup. I think if you're in enough Slack groups too, I think personal Slack groups are always a good one as well. But you have to be in certain ones. But yeah, I think there's just a wide variety of sources people don't use. I've been trying to learn how to recruit through like GitHub. But there's there's all sorts of places that I think really the one place you probably shouldn't recruit is the Facebook comment section. But you know,
Facebook group too.
Or
Same
LinkedIn,
old
or
stuff.
the LinkedIn comment section. Honestly, the LinkedIn comment
Yeah.
section are extremely
Yeah.
toxic.
Well, so Facebook groups, like I've actually, with high volume roles, I hired like 30 people in July off
Okay.
a hospitality group for like a high volume role. But yeah, I mean, I think just in general, yeah, like if you stay away from the political section and
Yes.
well, but okay, so that's something else though, because I think recruiters, speaking on, I guess, recruiting topics, there's such a bias towards like contract and part-time work that I think a lot of political folks actually get left out in the cold. So I think so.
I don't understand.
Yeah, so I think they're like I find, and I've had this conversation with like a lot of people who work on campaigns, and I'm not saying like the Trump campaign, I'm saying like state and local campaigns.
Oh, gotcha.
That they're like, hey, I've been trying to I've been trying to get into X industry or Y industry, and people say, oh, you've only worked at this place 2 to 3 months, not realizing that like that's really all you work on a campaign. And so like I find that a lot of recruiters, there's a bias towards like industry switchers, or people who have skills that may transfer well. Because like I think those who work on political campaigns, they've got organizing, communication, tech. I mean, they know how to work CRMs. So,
yes.
Yeah, but then people see like, oh, like you were only there for 5 months, and it's like, well, yeah, because the general election is only 4 to 5 months. So, but yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different creative spots and creative ways like you can recruit that a lot of people don't realize that.
I think real quick, Adam, I think the biggest thing that you hit on is also that I call it the human connection. I talk about it all the time, that when you get somebody on the phone, you got to feel energetic, and you got to sit down like you're talking with them with coffee or a beer and get to know them, especially IT people. They're quiet. I get on the phone with them. They're like, who in the hell is this? But no, we laugh and we get to break it down. They're like, nobody's ever did that before. It's all like, as soon as you get on the phone, this is the job I have. Are you interested? And then within 2 minutes, phone call's done.
But see, I think that's something that's like, we have so many different ways that we can research somebody. I can go on somebody's Twitter and say, hey, like you mentioned this, hey, this relates, or like we can find 2 or 3 common characteristics. And that's what people don't do, is like they say, hey, I'm recruiting for X job. And it's like, dude, like at least say, like my thing on my LinkedIn, it says like disappointed or perennially disappointed Dallas Cowboys fan. And it's like a very, very easy connection point for people. And some people use it really well, and some people like do not use it at all. And it's like this is something very, very, very easy for people to do. Kirsten could like trap recruiter, like somebody could literally ask and say, hey, what is trap recruiter?
That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people are like, what is this? And it's not just job seekers, it's companies that want me to consult with them too, or that are thinking about it, like, I'm interested in this. They do the same thing with the shark, like what's the deal with staffing shark? Like
it's an easy connection point. Like, and I don't understand why people like. That's the great thing about Twitter, LinkedIn, Clubhouse. You read people's bios, you say, oh, you find the connection point, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, I do wish sometimes engineers had a little bit more in their bios that I could work with. So, but that's neither here nor there.
Awesome stuff. Capturing the audience is all it's about.
All right, so let's move into the holiday section. Sure. You told us your favorite holiday song is 1 through, is it 5?
Yeah, so I say I prefer number 1 to
number 1. Okay, the original. Okay, I'm going to ask a different question. I'm going to ask a new question. Festivus for the rest of us, or no?
Yes.
What about you, Rich? Festivus for the rest of us, or no?
Of course.
Do you have a Festivus poll? Are we going to do our grievances at the end of the week or no?
No, that was actually, I was trying to think about a piece of content around that because I happen to be a Seinfeld fan. So, yeah, RIP, I guess, Jerry Stiller this year. But yeah, Festivus for the rest of us.
Absolutely. No soup for you.
Yeah. That was a good episode. But you just mentioned that Greg Stiller passed away, and I can't remember. Like, it seems like this year was 100 years long. Like,
yeah,
my goodness. Have you lost concept of time, or is it just me?
I mean, I think like time has gone by very, very quickly. I kind of remember. So I think the sort of first major event for me for 2020 was, I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, so I remember driving and like I'm in a big WhatsApp chat group and seeing the death of Kobe, and like I remember that was like. Yeah, and I mean, I think everything after that was kind of a whirlwind because it was like, yeah, I mean, I remember that day was like I consumed every amount of Kobe content. Like
it was a Sunday. I was in Atlanta, and I went to a basketball game that night that we didn't know if it was going to be canceled.
Yeah, the Hawks game. Yeah.
Yes, and they were playing the Wizards. So. Yeah, like that was weird. I was I was doing something for my business. Like I had sponsored a women's self-defense group, doing their Saturday thing, and they were like, "Well, come out." I was like, "Okay." So I went and spent a couple days in Atlanta, and then also that was the beginning of COVID too, because on the way to the airport, they were listing they were just starting to say which airports had cases, and Hartsfield was one of them. So I'm like, what is COVID, and am I going to get it?
Well, and it was interesting too because like people were still, like I feel like his death sort of kicked off everything because it was like the start of COVID, and then like I know 2 weeks later was the All-Star game, and then things started shutting down in March, and then I remember baseball and then the minor leagues canceled, and then and then like literally layoffs started happening in like March. But
that's when stuff started getting canceled. Recruiting stuff started getting canceled in March for me. Yeah. Like webinars or like in-person conferences, things like that. Like they started shutting down here. All right, that's enough doom and gloom.
That's right. But one thing I will say about recruiting and our industry in 2020, you can grow. I mean, we could grow like a flower because you network with people. You had time to grow everything that you want. So if nobody grew in 2020 professionally, you had so much time.
I tweeted something a couple of days ago, and I was like the amount of people that I have met in the amount of people that I have met like personally in 2020, like it is astounding. Because nobody. There wasn't like the $2,000 overpriced conference that you got to go to, and you didn't have to go get coffee. I mean, you could just literally hop on Zoom, hop on Teams, and I mean, just the sheer amount of like conversations that I have had. I mean, it's been at least, I feel like at least like 200, 250 people. But I mean, I think hopefully in our industry, a lot of other people did the same. So
we definitely did. Again, I think Twitter wise, I grew in a way, like quality wise, like the definition of quality over quantity. Like having coffee with someone in the UK, someone in Spain, like checking out folks in Canada and Dublin, Ireland. And it's like, known each other your entire life because everybody was feeling the same thing. We were able to exchange ideas in a way that wasn't, restricted. We weren't at the conference and making sure that, somebody didn't overhear us being critical of something that needed to, that by the way, deserves some critique. It wasn't a lot of masking. It wasn't a lot of, putting on airs and, you know, just being phony. Like, I'm glad that people showed who they were in 2020 because the folks that remain like connected to me and, you know, that are there with me and supporting, and I'm giving back to them, supporting them. Like, this has been amazing in terms of the human connection, even though we couldn't physically be in the same place.
I mean, I think that's the thing is that, and I think obviously there are some, I mean, obviously parents who had to deal with distance learning and that sort of thing. I'm sure, you know, their networking was probably a little bit more curtailed than somebody like myself. But I mean, you know, you had 2 hours probably cut from your commute, or, you know, an hour and a half. And like, imagine how many like 30-minute meetings you could. So I started using Lunch Club in May or something like that.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I would schedule, you know, 3 meetings a week there. And it's like, just, you know, if people weren't doing that, I don't think they were, I don't think they were leveling up, because there were all these companies offering free courses. And my computer only goes so fast. So like, I only could do so many at a time. And I mean, you know, for somebody like me, you know, sports was canceled for most of the summer. And so like, yeah, I mean, we just had all this time, and yeah, I mean, if you weren't learning all this stuff, I mean,
shame on you.
I'm not going to shame anyone because everybody has different situations.
But like, I think things were just like, realize the time that you got back somewhat.
Some people.
Realize that some people got the time back, and hopefully you took advantage. But yeah, I mean, I have full respect to the parents out there who have like 3 kids doing distance learning. Like, I get that, because you also, I mean, hey, I would put that on my resume, you know, 5-month volunteer contract. I was a distance learning teacher.
Oh my.
Hey, Adam, real quick, since you're in IT and all that stuff, video resumes, you guys using it down there or no?
Not really, but I'm always more of a fan of the personal brand over the resume. Because I think the resume is something that is like outdated. And I think we place a lot on like, oh, well, you were here from this time to this time for a year and a half, and so what? And, you know, I think we're transitioning to a gig economy, and yeah, there are going to be times where I think some people are going to work 2 to 3 gigs at a time.
I do.
I remember a couple months ago, I interviewed for a job, and they're like, well, you had 3 jobs at one time. And I was like, yes, because one paid for my healthcare. One was, you know, focused on what I wanted to do. And then one was like a side hustle. And they're like, well, how are you able to manage it? And I'm like, well, you know, there are more than 40 hours in a week. So, but I think that a lot of companies, you know, with healthcare skyrocketing, and a lot of them are going to punt, and, you know, they're going to just, especially in our world, I think, you know, people are going to have multiple gigs.
I totally agree. And I think a lot of more people are going to be working from home. Like these big box staffing firms, I see it right now where they're downsizing all their offices. I mean, who's going to have an office now on every other block, you know?
But shouldn't staffing in general be work from home anyway? I mean, like, I understand the collaboration, but, you know, you have Slack, you have Teams, you have so many other ways to collaborate. And I mean, especially if you're working in a one market staffing, like I'm in Austin, I'm working in Austin. I mean, my job is to meet candidates. And so, I mean, why do I need to go to an office when I can meet one candidate at a coffee shop, one at a park, you know, one somewhere else, that sort of thing. So
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why. Isn't it weird too that, like, we talk about the professionalism, and I remember I would work at these recruiting firms, and it was like, you have to dress in khakis and button downs, and yet, you know, outside of work, I mean, people that work there were, you know, not the most scrupulous people. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. I mean, not bashing every staffing firm, but
no, there are some.
We've all worked for good and bad. You know what I mean? I hate to say it, but that makes us stronger in the end, right? And a good recruiter.
yeah, it makes us, I think one of the more difficult staffing roles I had was I worked in locum tenens, which is like part-time or like temporary doctors and like physician assistants. And
whoa.
Yeah. I learned probably more about the medical profession. Like I used to like hold doctors up of like here, and then you realize that sometimes they're just humans too. And you're like, you have like God, what was it? It was like it was an ER doc or something, telling them about their private things I didn't need to hear about their private life. And I was like, oh wow. And I have to trust you if something happens to me. So yeah, I mean, you learn a lot about people as a recruiter. That's for sure.
True story.
Good stuff.
Rich, hit it.
All righty. You ready for some holiday twist real quick? Favorite holiday treat or cookie or dessert?
Favorite holiday treat or cookie? A lot of people, they like in these like cookie what do you call it, like cookie swaps or something like that, they always like coat an Oreo or some like peanut butter cookie in like white chocolate or dark chocolate frosting. I like those.
You do?
Wow.
Like a dipped Oreo.
Yeah, like a dipped Oreo. I like those. I like those.
Okay.
Nice. Alrighty, another one. Favorite holiday movie? Did you have any growing up that you liked?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to answer because like I think, as I said before,
That's okay.
My idea of like holiday movie was sitting through 7 hours of NBA games on Christmas Day. So
hey, that counts.
Yeah. So I think the movie where the Mavs in 2011, like the
I knew it. Dirt.
The movie where the Dallas Mavericks. Wow.
That was a cool movie.
Okay.
With Mark with a cigar, right? Mark holding the trophy with the cigar.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, I gotta ask him this one, for real. Fruitcake, yay or nay, or did you ever have it?
I had it a couple times. I'm a nay.
You've had it? You ate that?
Yeah, I eat anything.
Oh, time out. No. So I think we've got him kind of like yes and no.
No, he said nay. You don't like it, do you?
I've tried it. I don't like it.
So he's a nay.
Okay.
I'm a nay.
Okay.
I can't think good about fruitcake at all. We ask every guest about fruitcake, and almost 90% says no way. Like, why would you eat that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the panettone too. I mean, like I've had panettone, and like it's fine.
Gotcha. We've had two people that actually like it, and wow. Like that's all I have to say about that. Wow. Did not know that. I don't even consider it food. I just no. It's like
you want to go with the next one, KG? Your beverage one, of course.
Oh yes.
Don't forget.
So this was coffee, but favorite holiday beverage, spiked or regular?
Yeah, I'm pretty bland. So you know what a new one I really like is the hot chocolate bombs. I haven't had one yet this year, but
okay.
I don't know. Those are pretty awesome because like you get like the chocolate and then like you can
pour the hot milk.
So I attracted some controversy because I am actually not a fan of eggnog. And I think I don't like eggnog. Number one, I think it's a little heavy, but like I remember I had like spiked eggnog after I ran a race in high school, and I want to like it, to get to the holiday spirit, but I've never liked it.
Understood. We're both eggnog fans, but yes to hot chocolate, and specifically hot chocolate bombs. Yes.
Anything like that's great stuff.
All right. Did we miss any? Because we already did the song.
I think we did pretty much everything. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So this was awesome. You spent a good amount of time with us. We covered a lot of great things. Hopefully, folks will. Is he frozen?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Whoa, your attention to you can pay attention really.
He's multitasking, you know that, KG.
No,
He's
but he's
recording as we're on the show.
He didn't even blink though. I was like, oh, is he frozen?
Hey, that's a skill.
We know, yeah, that is. You could be one of those students. You don't even have to put up the picture. You could just sit there
it's funny because my fiance will quiz me sometimes because I can sometimes zone out, and she'll say, "What did I just say?" And I repeat exactly what she said.
Nice.
That's awesome. So again, we really enjoyed our conversation with you. We do have to have you back next year to talk to us more about recruiting. Maybe we'll get some updates on Clubhouse versus Twitter versus LinkedIn, or we could talk some more. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. We could talk about your philosophy on how LeBron equals recruiting. We definitely have to get into that.
I wish we had.
We were in a flow. We were going, and I just couldn't figure out how to.
When we do that, we'll recruit
in there
in Cleveland so they can watch too.
True story. I appreciate you today. Again, folks, this is episode 9. We've got 10 at 4:00.
4:00 today.
2 special guests. Rich, please tell the folks who's coming on at 4:00.
Oh, we got a special guest. I'm not going to even tell you yet. You'll see it in the flyer and get ready for it. 4:00, we got 2 action-packed guests together, so it's going to be good.
It is. So we'll see you at 4 or catch the replay. Thanks again to Adam Rosenfield coming to us straight from Texas and Pittsburgh and Virginia. We're heading out. See you later.
All I can say at the end, how about them boys, right, Adam?